What you up to? Watch out, Ninja. I just wanted to give a quick debrief. Unfortunately, being in an RV full-time and traveling and on the road, us full-timers and nomads, or even occasional people in vans and RVs, are going to be privy witness accidents. I just wanted to throw out a couple of comments and feelings. Number one, based on my experience, I've got a lot of emergency medical training. So I kind of have dare I call it, duty to respond or to lend a hand. But I think anybody first on scene also has an obligation to render whatever aid that may be. Now, the first thing I did was call 911 because we want to get help. Knowing that EMS is on the way, anything I have is going to be not needed. First thing I wanted to do was go over there, render aid, do a triage, and the 2 to 3 minutes of calling 911, looking for Ninja, having thoughts go through my head, getting on some tennis shoes, grabbing my phone. I had already looked out and people were stopping, people were running to the different vehicles. Well, the first thing I've learned is just because 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people are at a vehicle, civilians we'll call them, because at least they're all like me, a civilian in regular clothes. They're not on duty law enforcement or EMS personnel, fire department, things like that. So the first thing you have to know is just because you see a lot of people at an accident scene, don't assume that any of them know what they're doing or have any training or are rendering any kind of first aid or rendering the right kind of first aid. Whatever you know, go and give the best aid you can. Even if it's possibly even just being there and being a witness to what's going on. So even being a witness after the fact can be an important thing. So even if you have no medical training or you're frozen in your shoes, not wanting to render aid, being a witness is an important thing. Excuse me. This is about me giving some advice and recommendations, in my opinion, of you having the knowledge of what to do if friends, family, neighbors, people like today, strangers are injured and you're there. If you're there, you may be the first one there. Now, in my case, I went to the pickup truck, going back to give a little brief summary of this, and I'm going to clip it to do that. So I think that's important. Coming up on the scene, I did a brief look at the 2 occupants of the truck and decided I was going to go first, check out all the occupants in the pickup because I could see there were multiple ones. So after I walked up on scene, there was an officer. I identified, said, "Hi, I'm a medic. I'm here to help." There was nobody else but me and him on the scene. EMS was on the way. I'm sure fire and ambulance, which eventually did show up, 5 or so minutes later. There were 3 or 4 occupants on the ground, 4 or so in the front 2 areas of the truck. It was a 4-door pickup truck. And then 3 occupants laying down in the back. So I went to each one going, "Are you okay? What's your name? Talk to me. I want to see if they have an airway. Can they talk to me? Are they squirting out blood?" I'm doing a basic triage because this is considered a mass casualty. So I moved to the back. First guy, he's talking, kind of, oh. But he's talking and moving his legs, moving his arms. Next guy looks like he has what's called agonal respirations. He's barely breathing once every 10 seconds. Couldn't find a pulse on him. Next person, no breathing, no pulse. At that point, he did take a couple of breaths, but then he also went into agonal respirations. Couldn't find a pulse. At that point, an ambulance pulled up. So I gave the scenario and lowdown, but I went over to the SUV where they had told me the passenger daughter is deceased. And they had got her out on a stretcher. And I didn't get a look at her. And I was there when they had pried open the driver's side door, because that's where she got T-boned from. And they pulled out the patient. And then the firefighters, everybody skedaddled because they were directed to go and pry open the passenger door on the pickup truck. And so I assisted. I had gloves on. Almost immediately, an officer gave me gloves, which was great. And the EMT and I went over things and pretty much assessed her as she had a couple of agonal respirations, I think 3 over a couple minutes, and no pulse. Being the EMT tried to find a carotid pulse. Nothing, no movement. Checked pupils and things. Anyway, and then the paramedic came over that was partners with the EMT, and I gave him the lowdown, and they assessed her dead or dying. Time to move on. I asked if they needed any other assistance. They said no. I said, okay, I'm going to get out of the way. I did what I did, and then I got out of their hair. There were family that showed up on scene afterwards. I guess the police had probably told them where things had happened. Excuse me. But I could hear family members and their emotions and things that they were talking about in their relations to the lady in the car, which I overheard to be grandmother with granddaughter, from a lady that said she was the mom on scene of that daughter, and that the lady was her mom. Don't know for sure. That's what I heard firsthand, but you never know. I had thoughts whether or not to post some of this footage and make this video, but number one, being full-time in an RV, I'm going to come across these things. And I know you are too, or you will, or you have. So I wanted to share it with others because it's a fact of life. Obviously, the medevac landed. They loaded somebody in there. They flew him out to the hospital. And maybe that person will be saved because, unfortunately, in a triage situation, you've got to... So, again, the more you know, as tragic of a situation as it is, I can at least feel good that, hey, I did what I could. But I'm glad I was able to talk, because as I'm sitting here in the evening with Ninja laying on my legs in the RV, drinking a twisted, I don't even know what it's called, twisted hard iced tea. Oh, it's not a lemonade, it's hard iced tea, twisted. Anyway, first time I bought them, so forgive me. But I've got these thoughts and these emotions going through my head. And thank you for listening, if you made it this far, and hearing me talk about the situation. Again, my goal is to let you know what, unfortunately, you may encounter out there, and what a little bit of training, first aid supplies, trauma supplies could help you out. So, again, thanks for listening to this part, and I hope you got a little bit out of it. So here's the intersection coming up where everything happened. Where that truck is where the high-speed pickup truck with all the occupants blew the red light. The way I'm traveling is where the grandmother and granddaughter were at. When they were going straight, they got T-boned. They went over here quick to the left, right about there, and you could see the skid marks from the truck where it went. And I was parked over to the right where that lot is. Hi, sports fans. I just wanted to give you a quick look at the medical kit I carry in my RV. Real basic. And again, they label it cuts and scrapes. Gives you information on there. I believe, yep, you can see just some stuff. Blisters, splinters, and stings. Little tweezers for ticks and other things. Bleeding, wounds, and burns. So here's more aggressive bleeding and some basic info. Sprains and strains. Again, some basic info. And CPR and shock. Just a very, very basic medical kit that anybody could carry and use with just some very general knowledge. Just a recommendation. There's lots out there.